Welcome back to Mikanko Adventure Ghostrick. I already did a deck profile on this deck that you can see in the description if you're curious about it and want to learn more. But you might not want to. While I had very high hopes for this deck, as I remember the original variant I based off of back in 2021 being pretty decent, this did not impress me. It unfortunately has not held up that well, and its end boards are not as impressive as I thought they were. Necro Valley is great, but ending on Necro Valley plus a negate is not that good, and really more than anything, the deck just is not as consistent as I thought it was. It's a lot less consistent in the original version because I had to remove some of the level 3s for some of these tech cards. And you'll see in these duels, pretty much I was losing because I was bricking, because going second's too hard, or going first just isn't good enough. Unfortunately, it's almost certainly not the way to proceed forward with Mikanko like I thought it was. You will notice here I did make some minor changes from my original deck list. That's because after drawing 3 copies of Shot every single time I open my opening hand, I decided to cut it down in favor of some more level 3s like Tracker and Wielder, and that mostly solved the bricking issue. Which helps, but if your end boards aren't good enough, it doesn't matter if you don't brick. Now here's the first duel, and this is against Rune. Which, I mean, could potentially be a good matchup, you'd think, because Necro Valley destroys Runic. And especially paired with Griffin Rider, you can protect Necro Valley with, you should be able to win pretty easily. And this will show you that unfortunately my assumptions are not as good as I had hoped. Because, well, I get to go first, which is a good start. So I have a decent hand: Exceed, Rondo, Arabesque, Wielder, Water Enchantress, and I go through the normal lines. I summon Aramesir, summon Wielder, get Draco back to get Griffin Rider. This is a extremely strong hand and basically does everything I could possibly want it to. But doing everything you want it to is not necessarily the best. I guess the only thing that would improve this end board would be an Ohime in hand, but that's about it. As you can see, I'm going through normal things, just using Angel of Mischief, and then I summon Festival to summon Exceed. Use another Exceed from deck, make another Mischief, and just search to get the little Necro Valley search combo going. And then I actually get pretty quick access to UFD. Thankfully, so far my opponent has had no hand traps, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable. And then draw phase, I fire off Necro Valley. Which ain't bad. Then my opponent activates Tip. And it starts to get a little scarier from here, but I'm feeling confident. Then they use Duality, and I realize that this is Runic Stun. Now there's an issue with this deck. It cannot beat Stun. Because, you'll see here, it just does not have enough spell trap interaction to get through a whole bunch of back row. And so my board basically gets shredded, and I get left with a Utopic Draco feature, and I'm going to be decked out. And in game 2, my opponent does end up disconnecting for some reason, but by all means I had maybe won. But I was not winning a game 3. I mean, this is a game 2 where I drew double Twin Twisters, and still, it didn't look good in the end. So it lost the stun. Well, a lot of decks lose a stun. It's very good at catching you off guard. So here, it is against a more traditional deck, in this case Mikanko Libromancer. And it doesn't really go much better. I don't lose every game. It actually goes to game 3, which is pretty nice. So to start off with, I get to go first, which is very nice, another 1 die roll. And this hand is not bad. Going Ash Blossom, then Arabesque, to put Ashes back in the hand to grab Hair, so then I get the body on the board, then I can fire E-Tele to get another level 3, I can overlay these 2 into Alucard and Mischief, use Mischief to search Shot, and go through the Ghostrick lines. Pretty standard overall. Use Mischief again, search Renovation. Go ahead and use Alucard to get Shot back. In this case, linking off into Festival, triggering Exceed, summon from deck, overlay for another Mischief, do Search Mansion. So this is once again I get the full-on Necro Valley combo line. I don't have access to the adventure part, which sucks, but you know, it is what it is. This is a pretty good end board against a lot of decks. And then I get Lava Golem on my field. And, well, that is one weakness of this deck. Cards like Lava Golem are devastating. Same goes for something like Dark Ruler. If your opponent's deck can play through Necro Valley, then your board's gone if they have a blowout like that. You know, it has protection against Lightning Storm exclusively, basically. And I mean, you know, it's just I was not going to win this duel. I did go for shot. I did get out of the card so I can make Zeus. The problem, and you'll notice there I didn't have targets left in deck for Arabesque, did not help. My opponent has Ohime, I have Zeus, they have all these Libromancer cards, and so I can trigger right now. It's their weak point, and then they Imperm, and it's over. So we go to game 2. And here, I get a similarly very strong hand. This is one of the best hands the deck can produce. Does basically everything I could possibly want it to. And so I go through the normal things, just doing the UFD lines. In this case, also go ahead and get shot, then making it to a Draco feature, then triggering one changes to get Aram Seer. This time I have access to Ohime, so I'm a little bit more hopeful. I go and use Ohime's effect, do Search, Great Mikanko Ceremony, and pitch Fire Dance, summon Ohime, trigger Adventure, get Draco back, get Griffin Rider, all the normal things. I don't have access to the Necro Valley line, fortunately. But, you know, it is what it is. And in this case, I actually cited that out in game 2 because it didn't do anything in game 1, so I didn't really feel the need, and I get Lava Golemed again. So things are going well. You know, the game isn't over because my opponent doesn't have a ton in their hand until, you know, Arabesque comes out and then kind of goes to hell. And then they make Isolde. So this isn't looking great, but it's not a complete lost duel yet. You know, they are doing the normal kind of combo things with this little list of the deck. Using Hair, searching again, making Unicorn. And so, I'm kind of in the assumption that the game is over, they make access code, and blow up my board and smack me. Then I try Arabesque. And Arabesque is the card that keeps me in the duel, because then I can summon Hair, search another Arabesque, use Shot, Reborn Alucard, link off Alucard, use Exceed, and Alucard to get back Shot, and so I win game 2. Finally, I won a game. And now, this opening hand, which is not bad. Lightning Storm, Ash, Arabesque. But my opponent has a very decent hand, as it will turn out. They go for adventure stuff, they go for Libromancer, and so far, you know, I'm waiting for my time to Ash. They get Draco back, they get Geek Boy, and here I Ash here to stop Griffin Rider, and then they triple attack and steal the Arabesque. But as you'll see, this person basically has full combo, and so it didn't really matter if I hit Arabesque. They made like 6 interruptions with 2 layers of protection, and that's one issue. The deck can play a small amount of blowouts, but outside of Zeus Turbo, it's not that good at going second. And you see in the hand like this, even if I broke their board, what do? I have emergency teleport and a Draco back. I can't play more, and that's because this deck has to have 2 card combos. And in this list specifically, if I fit the Mikanko cards in, I can't fit that many level 3s. It's just difficult with this deck. There's not enough space, and if you go over 40 cards, it loses consistency. It's definitely not as good as the DPE version from back in 2021, but unfortunately that version isn't legal anymore because Verte's gone and DPE sucks this format. This is all to say, don't play this deck. I thought it was a lot better in testing, because in testing you don't get Lava Golem twice. And even if I didn't get Lava Golem, most of these matches I wasn't going to win. So it lost to a competent rogue deck and Runic Stun, so maybe it's just not quite on the power level of these top decks. Maybe it has viability as a more casual locals deck. Here is it getting 2-0'd by pure Spellbooks. You know, the famous Tier 0 deck. And so starting off with, I get to go ahead and go first again. You get Ashed, and then I can do a little bit. This is a hand where Ash really ruined me, unfortunately. That's what's IP pass. Unfortunately, Unicorn is not very good against Spellbooks, as I quickly learned. Not that it really matters. The moment the E-Tele got Ashed, I basically lost the duel, and that's one issue, is this deck doesn't play through interaction that well. I make Dark just... I guess it's better than Unicorn. I can maybe steal a card from their grave. I mean, by all means, this game is over from the moment the E-Tele hit, and that's a problem. A deck in 2023 losing the Ash Blossom like that is not good. And then they activate Secret Village, and so while Ohime is great, it lets me actually break Secret Village. They have Solemn Judgment. So I could have maybe won that duel until that happened, so now game 2 I get to go first again. And this is the hand. This is why I cut shot down to 1, because I saw this hand and realized I wasn't going to do anything. I could have summoned Ohime Pass, which against the spell deck doesn't do anything. And that's really one of the big issues with this deck. It just does not interact with spell traps enough. There's plenty of ways to mess with monsters, but decks aren't just monster turbo piles anymore. They run a lot of spell traps that are very strong. So in conclusion, do I think this deck has no value at all? No, I'm sure someone could engineer something competent with it. I couldn't. But unfortunately, Mikanko Libromancer, as you saw in that earlier replay, is a lot better in basically every way. Going first, it's better. And going second, it's better. And really, that's more of a problem with me trying to force a deck from 2021 that was not even rogue, really, to function in 2023. The adventure engine is not what it once was. It's not as impressive anymore. Necro Valley is great, but if it doesn't auto-win the duel, it often just doesn't do anything, and it can kind of harm you a little bit. The Mikankos are very good as well, but they do kind of break your hands, and them being level 3s is nice, but they're just better used in other decks, and that's really the conclusion of this deck. Any of these cards would be better in other decks unless you want to play Ghostrick specifically. And this is probably the best version of Ghostrick, maybe, but unfortunately that's a deck that has gotten almost no support, and it's Ghostrick. It's not that impressive. So I would say stay away from this deck if you want something even locals playable. If you think you can make something good out of it, then go ahead. I'm not the best deck builder, so maybe I'm just missing something obvious. Maybe an Isolde engine and kind of dropping the adventure stuff would be better. But at that point, you're just making Mikanko Libromancer without the Libromancer. Thank you for making it this far into the video. If you liked it and want to see more in the future, please feel free to subscribe or leave any feedback you have in the comment section below.